And I Okej. Säger ni till när livestreamen är på gång eller? Innan vi sätter igång livestreamen kan jag berätta att om ni vill så får ni gärna swisha för boken som vi la på stolarna. 20 kronor om man känner sig fattig, 100 om man känner sig rik, eller någonstans däremellan. Men annars så får ni gärna ta med den i alla fall hem för att vi vill gärna bara sprida det här kunskapen. Är vi live nu eller? Ska jag börja? Okay, welcome everyone to Forus, the Green and Liberal think tank. This is a seminar which is also sponsored by the European Liberal Forum, so that is why the banner is up here. We started thinking about planned obsolescence, which is called, in this book, and applied for funding to write something in the summer of 2018. And then there was quite a slow administrative process, so we didn't actually get the funding until this summer, 2019. And now finally the book is here. And it's been quite interesting. I thought I was the only one in Sweden writing about it. But then as I was writing, a Swedish radio journalist came out with a series about it, which was quite interesting. And then I came across an academic who's written lots and lots of it on planned obsolescence for 20 years. And I realized that this issue wasn't something that I or Forus were the only ones working on. So we now finished the book and we gathered all of those that we think will be interesting from Daniel from Swedish Radio, Carl from Lunds Universitet, and then Hop from France, which is an organization, and Michelin, the tire manufacturer, which was actually the company that first raised this issue with us. But to start off, we will start to hear from Daniel about why he started looking into the issue, and how the series or radio show was welcomed, really. And yeah.
Hi. So my name is Daniel Öhman. I'm from the Swedish Radio. I'm an investigative reporter there, and the series we're talking about, called Prylarnas pris in Swedish, the real price of products, would it be in English? So for me it started really like it starts for many consumers. Something breaks. I think it might have been some household appliance, a vacuum cleaner, and you think, why did it break so early? And why do I accept it to break? And I was, going to buy a new product and thinking, this is normal. And then thinking again, why is this normal? Is it normal that this vacuum cleaner should break after 4 years? And then I started to look into the facts. And just to look at the importance of it, 40% of the emissions of the carbon footprint of households comes from products. Everything from hair dryers to cars. So it's 40%. And if you look at the carbon footprint that is sustainable, if we just used our products, we didn't eat, we didn't live anywhere, we will still go overshoot the target. So you see, we have to do massive things here. We can't go on as we are. So, and the environmental impact from products come from two phases, really: the production of them and the use of the products. The easiest way, if you want to look at the production, absolutely the easiest way to lower the emissions, to lower the environmental impact of our products, is to use them longer. The European Union has a ambitious program called the circular economy, as many of you know. And the goal of that is, to make stuff more durable, to use stuff longer, to circle materials in a perfect circle. And when you look at the facts, this is not what happens. Products are not even used a little bit longer. It's not even moving slow. It's moving in the wrong direction. A research paper from the German Institute, Öko Institute, paid by the German government. They looked at a wide range of products, from laptops to washing machines, and they saw that the lifespan of these products are going down. And there are many reasons for that. One reason is that consumers throw things that works away. Another reason is, of course, that the price is going down. So they use crappier and crappier materials. Really, they break. They're not used. They're not built to last. And the third one is that they, when it comes to planned obsolescence, that they produce stuff which contain parts that break sooner than the product itself, sometimes by purpose. I will not talk long, but just take two examples of this. For instance, one very common thing is to use batteries that are placed in such a way that you nearly can't change them. And that makes, when the battery stops functioning, which often happens long before the product itself stops functioning, the only rational thing to do is to change the product, even though the rest of it is working. We had one example here in Sweden that I used in the series. It's called, it's a vacuum cleaner from Electrolux, big home appliance maker. The same type of vacuum cleaners exist from other makers as well. It's one of the big sellers. They used it for many years, and it's constructed with a battery pack that is, you have to be a technician, a good one, to change it. Otherwise, you have to replace the whole hand unit. That means nearly the same cost as buying a new vacuum cleaner. And or another example would be TVs. There's a lot of TVs that flat screens that have been made that has they use inferior circuits for the backlighting, and or LED lamps for the backlighting, and that means that long before the TV breaks itself, the backlight breaks, and it's really complicated to change. It costs more money to change than to buy a new TV. Then you throw away the TV and buy a new one. So all this together, when you ask companies, they always say that, yes, of course we plan for a lifespan, but this is not about not wanting to be sustainable. We just adapt to consumers, because consumers don't want our products to hold so long. They throw them away anyway. So we just adapt. But that sort of, the researchers now say, you probably know, that we are creating a downward spiral. So the companies say, the consumers don't want products that last as long, so we might as well use this battery that is over after 3 years. And then the consumer expects products to last even shorter, and you see this circle, and there you go down to we're going the totally wrong direction. So that is sort of what I looked into. Yeah.
Good. Thank you. So that was an introduction and a short summary of the first episode of your pod. And I will invite Carl Dahlhammar up on stage, who has been working in this area. Ruben or Thomas, do we have the clicker?
I can otherwise click here.
Yeah, you can click there. Is this no? Okay, no, there it's gone. Well, we can click there. Carl Dahlhammar has worked on this issue for about 20 years, you told me, but now it's trendy.
Yes.
So you held on for 20 years to become trendy.
In research on product regulation for 20 years, but when we call it eco-design and product regulation, no one was interested. Now we call it planned obsolescence.
And then it's trendy and everyone's interested.
But
so I'll give you
thank you very much. It would be an exaggeration to say I worked on obsolescence and repairability for 20 years, but that's where we're coming, which I'll come back to in my presentation. We are with what we call the circular economy, which also used to be very non-trendy until we came up with this cool name, circular economy. It also became cooler. We also see new policies addressing this issue coming up, and much more momentum. We've seen a lot of momentum the last couple of years for plastics and for this issue, product durability and repairability. So I come from Lund University. I'm part of the Mr. Rees, big Swedish research program on circular economy in the Swedish manufacturing industry, and we are just about to start up a project called Creating a Repair Society and stuff like that. So this is what we do. Now, first of all, what is durability? We will soon have a European standard on that, but this is from a report to the European Commission, so it's a good working. The ability to perform a function at the expected level during expected use, and it's of course affected by the product design, proper maintenance, but also of course repairability. And repairability depends both on whether the product is designed to repair it, whether we have a competitive market for repairs, so it's cost effective to repair it, and whether spare parts are available or not, so you can do it. And that's where often we have a problem here in Sweden. It's very costly to repair and very cheap to buy new. Then, of course, there are other issues coming in, which I will not talk about. If you can make consumers feel that they want a new product, of course, they will discard the old one before it's broken. Coming back to the circular economy context first, when you talk to most normal people about circular economy, they think recycling. This is what we do. This is what we like in Sweden. We like to recycle. That's what our people are prepared to do for the environment. Recycling is number one. It's kind of fun, sort of. Not for everyone, maybe. So most people think of recycling more, but that is not apparently the whole solution, or not even the key solution, because first of all, 10 billion people cannot live like Swedes, no matter how much we recycle. A lot of the recycling is downcycling. It's not proper recycling. The value of the product or the material goes down. So therefore we need what we call a functional performance or maintenance economy. We need to have better functions of product, they need to last longer, etc., etc. Of course, we also have the bioeconomy. So these are three extremes of what the circular economy is about: recycling or performance or bioeconomy. Whatever the circular economy is, how do we get there? Well, we need a couple of things. We need better materials, better product design. We need new business models to deliver better services and functions and products, which I'll come back to here. How can they look like? Well, if we look at the bioeconomy, it can be making clothes out of wood, or it could be building wood or how constructions, or it can be bio-based plastics. If we look at the manufacturing, which is closer to what we look at today, it could be about making durable products. I put in the tires here because Michelin will come in, but it could be a Miele machine that says will last at least 20 years. But it could also be remanufacturing of computers, motor parts. It can be sharing and renting or functional sales and so on. So we need new business models. We need global reverse networks. We have today leaner manufacturing. Everything is made to come cheaply, just in time, out of the plants, and come down to IKEA or Elgiganten, and you go and buy it, get it home. It's a very efficient system. The system to take things back is very costly and inefficient. You cannot do lean manufacturing there. It's a problem. And this all means that in order to get somewhere, we need enabling conditions, and that is policies. We need governmental intervention. No major industrial change in the history, modern history of mankind has happened without any governmental interventions. And I think also this is the European Liberal Forum. We wrote this together with Forest, but more and more people discover the old truth. In order to have a free market that works for consumers, you have to regulate it more. No free market without regulating it, I would say. Okay, so we need a lot of policies, and if you look at the Circular Economy Action Plan from the European Commission, they have loads of policies proposed. Today we will only discuss the product-related ones, but of course there's loads of other policies, both funding, innovation, industrial processes, etc. But today we'll focus on the product regulation. Okay, so what if we go back? I said I worked with this for 20 years. What do we have in this enormous policy mix of product regulation? Well, we have three main types of regulation. One concerns the chemicals in products. We have the REACH, the ROS, whatever, all kinds of regulations on the chemical content of product. Which is also important for the second type of regulations, waste and producer responsibility. We need to collect and recycle products. And therefore they need to be cleaner, less chemicals in them, so we can recycle them properly. And then we have a third category, which is energy efficiency of products, energy labeling, etc. And that is one of the big successes of EU climate policy. Product regulation and energy labeling has really worked. So these were the three main categories, and then they are supported by other stuff like green public procurement that could affect all these categories, the eco-labels. And they are supported by various types of standards, whether it's ISO standards or European standards that has criteria for all this. Okay, so what has happened with the circular economy? We see a fourth category, I would say, of standards coming up. In the EU, we have now the Eco Design Directive. We started to set requirements on durability of some products. We have 10 new product group standards on repairability, accessibility of spare parts, etc., etc. So this is where it's really happening at the EU level. Manufacturers must open up the repair market, provide spare parts, and so on. What is also proposed is some kind of labeling scheme of durability and repairability, and we don't know if it will happen and how. But this is then an idea from the ecos that apart from having this, as you all know, when you buy the white goods, you see this energy label here. We will also have a repairability score, for instance, based on spare parts or repair instructions, but also some kind of durability indicator, which could be both durability per se, but also software updates, other stuff that can affect the performance of the product. This stuff has to happen at the EU level, because we cannot regulate that at the national level. We have an internal market, product regulation, labeling of this kind should probably happen in Brussels. What is also coming now is European standards, which will soon be voted through. So we will have a European standards on what durability is, for instance, which is very necessary in order to have regulation on it, because manufacturers will ask directly, if you say this will be durable, we need a standard to measure that, and so on. So this happens at the EU level. What has happened at the national level is kind of some interesting policies. We'll probably hear about some of them from the later speakers. France then has criminalized planned obsolescence, hard to prove, but they have sent prosecutors to Apple. They are making it harder. It will probably influence industry practices in some way. The Italian competition authority has fined Samsung and Apple for what they call planned obsolescence, slowing down old cell phones. We have strengthening consumer laws in several EU countries, and this is from a few years back, so it's not updated, but according to European consumer law, you have your minimum guarantee, etc. And we see several European countries have now prolonged that consumer guarantee from 1 year to more years. And also some European countries have changed the burden of proof. Is very, very important. Usually when you buy a product, you have 6 months to show it was something faulty. After that, the burden of proof that it wasn't faulty when you bought it goes over to the consumer. So that is maybe something that also needs to be changed. Okay, what we have also happening now at the regional local levels, we have in Sweden not least, we have started to procure remanufactured furniture and IT stuff. The main reason for purchasing IT stuff in small municipalities is that you half the IT budget, and they are often squeezed now for money. It's the same with furniture. You can actually make a lot of money on it also. We have other stuff coming up, reuse parks. We have where they collect stuff not just from recycling, but they divert to reuse. We even have Retuna here in Eskilstuna, the world's first mall for reuse. All the businesses are reused, and they get access to the public stuff. And then if you go over to the United States, we have a lot of right to repair laws proposed that you're going to open up the repair market for independent repairers. So this is interesting because a lot of stuff is happening right now in this area. How move forward? Well, I think as researchers we come to a couple of conclusions. First of all, like I said, we need to regulate the market to make it work. Two, in the circular economy, probably there's only place for high quality products. We cannot afford, the planet cannot afford to have too much cheap stuff. So we need to regulate stuff. So what can we do? Well, what we can do in the national level is to work with consumer law and better consumer information. We can consider taxes and charges. One thing we've done in Sweden also is to lower the VAT for repair services, have a RUT-avdrag for some repair services. Maybe we need to do more there. We can continue with public procurement of functions of durable product. We can start to, instead of just optimizing price when we buy something, we could have repair and maintenance contracts. So we start to push for new types of business offerings. Some stuff has to happen at the EU level, and it already is. So they will probably continue to push for right for repair laws, better design, more durable products, and potentially labeling measures. Thank you.
Right. So before we bring up everyone on the stage, we will now invite Hop. Laetitia from HOP, which is one of the founders. HOP is a French organization that works on planned obsolescence. And as we heard, it's illegal in France. So I'll let you explain what the situation is in France, but more so about what your organization do, because you work a lot with businesses as well. So yes. I'll let you talk, and here's the buttons. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much to invite us to this conference. I'm very happy to be here because I can see that this topic of planned obsolescence is extending all around the world. We had already connection with Quebec or with England, Germany, but now with Sweden, I'm really happy about it. So just to start, I think the people before say very interesting things about this topic, just to give some data and to see all the phases where planned obsolescence have an impact. It's first of all about production. When it has been said, when we buy products and it doesn't last, finally we have to buy a new one, and this new product need a production. And the phase of production manufacturing is really impacting for the environment. It's up to 80% of the total environmental cost of a product. So it's really huge. It is why we need to have products that last longer, because the manufacturing is really impacting. But we have also the second phase of using products. And we need to take more care of products, to clean them maybe more often, to keep them longer. And we have to be aware that almost 80% of products we have at home, we don't use them more than 3 times during a year. We don't use our product often. Sometimes we buy products we don't even need. And this also we need to be aware about it, to take our responsibility on it. And the last point is, after to create a product, to use it, we throw it in general. And 23 kilogram is the weight of the electric and electronic waste for a French person during a year in average that we throw. So it's really big, have big consequence. And so we can see that during all the phase of the life of a product, we have big impact, and planned obsolescence is having a bad impact on all of them. So the responsibility of this ecological impact of products can be seen in planned obsolescence. And for us, we have 3 types of planned obsolescence. First of all, we have technical obsolescence, which is maybe easy to understand. It's about hardware. So, for example, a product that don't last because of battery or because of the screen is not strong enough. Different type of problematics, but in the hardware. And then the second type is software obsolescence. And here it's another kind of obsolescence where it's more about the software. So you do have to download once again the software, or the software tells you that you can't repair it because you try to repair. When you start again, the products doesn't want to work because of the software. With it's controlled by distance with the film. And then the last, and it's really interesting. Also, we spoke just a little bit about it. It's psychological or aesthetical obsolescence. It's the fact that the product could last longer, but we changed it before. And this, we have our responsibility, but also market and design strategy of the films have lots of responsibility on it. Just one word about the software obsolescence, because we imagine it more easily in computers, smartphones, but it could be in all of these kind of products. It could be tomorrow in your fridge or in your TV, because now with connected products, we are more sensitive to this software obsolescence. So planned obsolescence is a crime in France, like we said before, since 2015. And I personally fight for it since a long time, because I was working in the law area. And so we get this crime, and it's really important to recognize a phenomenon, to recognize the rights of consumers to want durable products, repairable products. The definition is quite large. So it's good in one sense, but it doesn't help in another. Planned obsolescence is all techniques that the manufacturer will use to reduce the lifespan of products in order to make you buy more often. So it's quite large, but in the same time, it can be difficult sometimes because it's so large that we don't know exactly what enter in it. But it have been the key point to go further, to speak more about it, and to imagine what could be the solution to really enter in a circular economy. And for us at HOP, it has been the start point also to create an association, which means Stop Planned Obsolescence. So now we federate more than 40,000 persons. Communities that wants to claim for durability, for repairability, and we work with people to federate ourselves, but also to mobilize public actors, stakeholders, and companies. The final target are companies to create more durable and repairable products. So we did some actions, like the first lawsuit against printers. We specifically worked on Epson, and now it's an open case, and the prosecutor will give an answer, I hope, soon. But the justice, I don't know if it's here, the same here, but it's quite slow. And yeah, we hope some answer soon. The problem was that there is a chip in lots of printers that count the number of pages you do, but not the ink. It doesn't calculate what is in the ink cartridge, but only the page that you use. And after a number of pages, the machine will tell you there is no ink left in your machine. But when we look at it more seriously, there is sometimes 20 to up to 40% of ink inside the cartridge. And this is really problematic, because a liter of ink cost more than 2,000 euros. It's huge. And at the end, the loser is you and when you want to use your printer. We had another case with smartphones where we once again did a lawsuit because of the software. What I was speaking before. That's the problem with the smartphone, and especially here with iPhone. It's that when you download the new version of the iOS, it's slow down the capacity of your phone. And the company knew that and didn't say, of course, to the people in order they buy the new model. And we were happy to see that in Italy they did used sanctions against the same affair, same case for Samsung and Apple. Because this lawsuit, we did it in France with the tool of planned obsolescence, but it has been done in lots of countries, USA, Italy, Korea, a little bit everywhere in the world with different juridic tools, but to the same goal. We also did various studies about different products like the tights for the girls and washing machine, where we see that there is big problems of durability and repairability. But once we did this report, we tried to influence, to have a public debate in the media, and it helps a lot to be aware of these problematics. But finally, who can do something really is the companies. And we really need really need an ecosystem of companies that show with us that planned obsolescence is not a fatality. We can do something different. We can use different economical model to go in a sustainable direction, and not every time more in the short time of lifespan of products. So it is really important for us, and that's why we created the Club of Durability with more than 20 companies now, mainly French, but also in Europe, and we work on the sobriety in the business model, about the leasing business model, different kind of activities that can help, and also to see that it's an ecosystem, a product that will be done, concept, design, to last and to be repairable, will help then a lot of different economical actors, like the one who sell you the spare piece, or the one who sell in the second-hand market. And it's all a new economy that we have to build with volunteers actors. And one important point for us is to federate people. And for this, we did already big work. We do a lot of sensibilization. We create also this platform, which is Produits Durables, durable products, to give concrete advice to people. Because we can do our part as a consumer. We can do a big part of it. But we need to have good information to know which brand to prefer, and which brands are more repairable, more durable. So we do ranking, and we hope to influence the market like this, and also really concrete advice. To finish, for the action we do as an NGO, we do also a lot of citizen lobbying in France and in Europe. For example, in Europe, we ask the new MPs what they're gonna do to fight against planned obsolescence. We get the answer of more than 10 lists, political lists. So it means that a lot of MPs and different political views had engagement to work on it and to do something. And in France, we are in the middle of a law, the circular economical law, and we do a lot of lobbying, and we get some results that we could talk maybe after, but some very interesting things that could be done also in Europe later. We could talk later about the recommendation, but for example, we need more transparency and legal labels. We are on the point to get the durability label, legal label in France. We hope to get it in Europe also. We want usage meter. We will talk later about the cars. When you drive a car, you know how many kilometers you are doing. You can follow it. But why not on a computer, on a washing machine? You can also follow the cycle of usage. We fight for the right to repair, the digital equality, to fight against planned software obsolescence, and also the warranty, and to control better advertising, because we can't say in one hand consume better, be sustainable, and in the other hand to have everyday message to say buy more today, buy more, and this we need more coherence in this way. Thank you.
Great. Having listened now, you might think that all companies are bad. And they're not actually. And there's a lot of companies that are doing really good things in this area. So in the book, we try to mention a few of them. So Houdini, Philips, Tesla, New D Jeans, that you can go in and repair free of cost for lifetime. So there's a lot of companies that try to turn their business model into a more sustainable business model. And as I said in the beginning, Michelin tires were the first company and the first people that started talking to us about this issue, about planned obsolescence, because they, at the moment, the law puts the standards and regulations on what tires should be like when they are completely new, instead of when they're completely used. So that is why you came into the area. But Loïc Picard, please come up and tell us more about why Michelin is working in this area.
Thank you very much, Mette, for this kind introduction. Thank you for the invitation. I'm going to talk about tires, so maybe you're not passionate about tires, but I'm sure in 10 minutes you will be passionate about tires. So we'll try to build on this. So as you know, Michelin is a market leader on tires, but not only tires. Michelin tries to present itself as a mobility solution provider, from tires to hydrogen, also including mobility solutions and technological solutions around the tire. In fact, offering everyone a better way forward is the backbone of Michelin's purposes. So you might ask, why are we dealing about circular economy? What has Michelin to do with the subject of planned obsolescence? In fact, we have to understand the vision that is upheld by our CEO and by the company. This vision is the vision of all sustainable. He tells us everything has to be sustainable. And as a matter of a story, I can tell that when people come up to him and say, okay, it's really difficult for us, we're having issues, technical difficulties of being sustainable, he tells us, I don't want to hear this anymore. I want you to ask me, what are the resources you need to become sustainable? And this is how we're working on. And for mobility, as you know, mobility is undergoing major changes. This means responding to the growing needs of mobility by reducing the environmental footprint, which means reducing carbon emission, but also maximizing resource use. Because we have the conviction that the all sustainable is underpinned by the belief that if everything is sustainable, that means we have to drop the take, make, dispose industrial linear model and rather or go and perpetuate the business model based on the maximization of resources. And of course, the question of planned obsolescence has gained a great momentum in Europe and France, thanks to HOP, of course, because of its dramatic consequences, an overuse of stock of limited resources. And this, from Michelin, translates into two commitments. The first commitment is to avoid the unnecessary production of tires. The second commitment is to avoid any destruction of tires. And more concretely, in our activities, it translates in the retreading of heavy truck tires, I will get back to it, in our long-lasting performance program. So retreading of truck tires, to make it simple, retreading of truck tires is replacing the tread on a worn tire, but preserving the structure we call the casing, and therefore re-implementing this tire into the distribution circuit. So thanks to material recovery in a longer lifespan of the tire, you can save about 70% of materials compared to a non-retreadable tire. So I will leave you with these figures which talk for themselves about how this is enabling to save important resources. And then we have the long-lasting performance program. Long-lasting performance program is for us a way to encourage drivers to drive their car to the tire tread legal limit. Critical for grip performance, the tire tread depth limit has been subject to a quite homogeneous regulation, whether in Europe, European Union, United States, both of the countries you can see here, Japan, Canada, China, among other. And this regulations requires drivers to have at least tread depth of 1.6 millimeters. However, lots of different stakeholders in our industry encourage drivers to remove their tires earlier than the 1.6 millimeters. Today, the figure is quite talking, is 1 out of 2 removed tires in the European, so on average 50% are removed in excess of more than 3 millimeters. Which means, you can guess, not only there's a direct effect on the purchasing power of the consumer, but also direct impact on environment and natural resources with depletions of non-renewable and renewable resources, and also waste and new greenhouse gas emissions. But to understand, you might say, but why are some stakeholders doing this? What is the purpose of it? In fact, we have to get back to when you purchase a tire. What happens when you purchase a tire? I know you don't do this every day, but when you purchase a tire, you have information provided on 3 different characteristics. The first one will be the noise level. The second one will be energy efficiency. And the last one will be the wet grip. And in fact, as the tire tread wears, the 2 first performances, which are the noise level and energy efficiency, improve, which is quite clear then that there is a social and an environmental advantage for the driver to drive until the tire tread legal limit, which is 1.6. But the problem is, and this is the whole issue we're going into, and Mette already talked a bit, is the wet grip performance deteriorates over time as the tread wears. But as a consumer, when you buy your tire, how can you know what will be the performance of your tire when worn? How can you know what will be the performance of the tire when you will reach the 1.6 millimeters? Because in fact, you have different level of some tires maintain a strong level of performance at 1.6 and can even brake better than some tires still at 3 millimeters or above. So the fact is, this question is not about the tire tread legal limit. Road safety is not linked to this tire tread limit. There is no direct link between accidentology. And this is why we are working closely now and at the European level to introduce a wet grip threshold, which means that with the tires will be now tested on wet grip at the end of their lifetime and not anymore at the beginning of their lifetime. So we can assess the performance when the tire is worn and not when the tire is new. In other words, that will mean we will remove out of the market and denial the enter of the market for tires whose performance are unacceptable at 1.6. And this would of course help consumers trust their tires. Because if they know when they buy a tire that the tire will remain performant at 1.6, they can trust it until there and they won't remove it any earlier. So this is why it's really, really important to understand. We want to introduce in the European Union this minimum wet grip threshold. But this is a fight on when the people have already bought the tire and how not removing. We also have other issues about why do people don't want to buy our tires? It's like, what are the barriers to the durable purchase of tires? And there are 2 reasons which are really linked. The first reason is asymmetry of information. because of course the durability characteristic is not visible. Information on durability can be flawed, and how can you trust someone when he say this will be durable? And the second one is the affordability. As you know, we're not excited about tires. Tires suffers from commoditization, so it's not difficult. You don't want to put a lot of money in something you feel that is useless for you, and you don't even see sometimes how it's important for your security. So affordability and asymmetry information are two barriers that are quite important. And this is why at Michelin, since 20 years now, we have trying to develop offers, B2B offers mainly, for tire as a service. Tire as a service, based on service economy, is the fact that we will not sell the tire anymore, but we will sell a mileage. Therefore, the customer will not have any issue about how many kilometers can I drive. They send the contract, and he will drive the kilometer that has been indicated in the contract. So it alleviates the price of the initial investment and helps us out to sell these tires and avoid the early removal of these tires. And you see, these are lots of technical questions and quite difficult. And this is why at Michelin we have this. We know that all the issues of mobility and the transformation of mobility are quite difficult. And this is the reason for which in 2017 we created the Moving On Summit. The Moving On Summit, in a highly collaborative format, has the ambition to move from ambition to action, and it's seen as the gathering of the whole mobility ecosystem, because we have the conviction that we can only work as an ecosystem. An ecosystem means public authorities, civil society, and companies. And we can thank here Hop and Ford that have participated to Moving On actively, and has even helped us as a company to improve and ask our question and help us to understand how these issues of circular economy are important for the future and are important to remain sustainable. And we also have our book. We're trying to be rivals now, but we've worked in 2017, and we published this last year, which is an overview of the issue of resource efficiency and durability in the mobility sector. And we hope that you will join on the journey and help us reach our circular economy goals. Thank you very much.
So I'll bring the whole panel up now, if you can come up, and we'll have a conversation. And I think Loic demonstrated even companies can be passionate about planned obsolescence. So before I start with my many questions and also let the audience come in and ask questions, I thought I would give you, the panel, a chance to, is there any questions that you want to ask each other? Otherwise, I'll start with. I'll start with a easy theoretical or hard question, depending on what you see it as. Why do you think that France is so ahead and Sweden has been so behind? Why is it so different across Europe? Do you wanna? You talked about Sweden being behind.
I can. I don't know, but one thing is that we are in Sweden. We are really early adopters when it comes to technology. We're often a market where they test products because we want the latest. We have a very high usage of electronic products, much higher than many other countries. So I think, and we want to be modern, and the thing of repairability, it is something of the old. That's something we discarded before. You know, that was before our grandmothers used to fix things. We don't fix things. We buy new. I think it's has to do a little bit about that.
Is it a cultural difference, or is it that you worked on it and achieved through campaigning?
There is probably cultural difference, for sure. But because I saw, for example, in Quebec, they talk about it, but much more in a liberal aspect or sense. way. In Germany also they used to see it differently. They have much more industry. They used to be a robust industry. So maybe there is lots of cultural difference. But in the same time, I think planned obsolescence is a popular subject. I talked a bit with Daniel before, and I can see that in every country, in USA also, there were a video very popular on planned obsolescence. In each country, there is it's popular for people. They understand. They can see what is the problem. They used to they are confronted. They have it in their life. Then why in France it have been more concrete? I think it's about coalition of actors, a bit of change also. For example, in France, I used to work very early on it in 2012. We saw there were popular TV documental that then the some association did report, and in the Senate we work on it since 2012. So this step by step we arrived to this crime in 2015, and here we can go again further. Now we talk about repairability. Now we are talking about durability, which is a bit different than repairability, and everything goes step by step. But we had this chance in France to get this crime, and now we can we have a big association. We can go further.
And now it seems like there will be some sort of European legislation on it. And I think we all talked and agreed about that it's good if it happens on a European level, because then the market is bigger, and the French market by itself might not be big enough for one company to change its standards and manufacturing, or the Swedish market by itself. So it's better to do it as a big market. But when you design a regulation around this, what are the most important parts? What do you think, Carl? What should the European Commission focus on?
I mean, we often work with progressive companies who say we actually like regulation if it's well designed, and because we are selling high quality products, that's not an advantage to have a strong regulation. So, well, I mean, there's a number of things that are important. Not to forget the functionality. All European regulation, they don't just look at the energy or environmental performance of product. You also have to ensure the functionality, of course. So that's important. Good quality of products. Secondly is a little bit what I mentioned. The standards has to be some kind of standard so you can measure this. Otherwise, companies say, how can we measure durability if there's no industry standard? Very boring, also boring topic, like what the hell is that? But we need that, right? So well thought through, communicated early to industry, remember functionality, and that goes for everything. I mean, why do we have more wind power in some countries than others? They also ensure quality, otherwise you get crap stuff. So some of these things I think are important.
So Loic, I actually been to France and to your test center when you showed me the different tracks and the braking. But what you kept on saying is that if we need regulation, but the regulation needs to be sector by sector. Do you want to expand on that?
Well, it is really true. We have to do this on a sectoral approach. And taking the sectoral approach, we have to take into account the life cycle analysis. And this is for us, which is much more important. Whether it's innovations put on the market or the different regulation, these have been to be assessed through life cycle analysis before. Why? Because the life cycle analysis is the way for us to do not be dogmatic and not focus on one particular phase of the product, while the life cycle analysis will be an issue to get the production phase, the usage phase, and the waste phase. So we have like this big picture, and we have this holistic approach, which helps us tackle the circular economy approach. And of course, sectoral approach is really key, because there is no one size fits all, and each sector has its particularities. And the risk of not having the sectoral approach is not helping companies developing their business model and being able to to be still profitable, which is important for a company.
Do we have any audience questions? Do we have a mic? If you...
Yes, my name is Lars Nickels. I'm wondering, I haven't heard anything about what I think it could be part of a solution here, namely life cycle cost. Why don't you speak about life cycle cost, which is substituting the normal way of cost, which is worthless in this area?
Any more questions before we... Erik Huss, and then this one.
Hello, my name is Erik Huss. I'm CEO of Sustainability. I work with sustainable business development. I have a question for Loïc Picard. Excellent presentation. I know that tires, they're made of petroleum and they wear out, and a lot of microplastics. It's a big source for microplastics in rivers and lakes, one of the biggest actually. How do you discuss circular economy with those facts?
And then there was one more question behind you, I think, and then that was... Or was there one more? Yeah.
Yes, hello. I'm Lovisa Blomqvist. I work at the Swedish Energy Agency with the eco design and energy labeling and these kind of things. Well, I have many questions, but Letitia, I wonder about this definition of obsolescence, because at least as I see it, you can use material in a product that wear out earlier or later, but is that really in the definition of the planned obsolescence, or do you mean more of this counting or something? I'm interested in that. And then another thing is this with the tires. Again, thank you all for the great presentations, but I have kind of the same question here. This about the durability. I mean, this is something we have discussed on any label for tires, but it's been a question of standards for measure this because, well, one of the reasons is of course the microplastic environment, but also, you don't need to buy a new one as fast if it wears slowly. So is that something you have looked into? Do you have any information on that? Thank you.
Thank you. If we start with on the definition of planned obsolescence in the French law, it's on page 32. So you can look up, but in English it's planned obsolescence is defined by all the techniques by which a manufacturer aims to deliberately reduce the life of a product to increase the replacement rate. And I think, Carl, you had some thoughts about that. It's good in a sense that it's wide, but that also makes it very difficult to prosecute. You had some...
It is probably very hard. I mean, this is of course very sensitive issues. What we often hear people say, when we talk to industry, say, don't quote me, but as suppliers, they said that they should last 3-5 years. Like, it's not planned per se. It's more like, this is what people expect it to. A wide definition can be good, but I guess I'll leave it to the French to discuss how well you can uphold it.
Yeah. Life cycle costs. Should we measure things with life cycle costs? Does anyone want to?
I can say a quick thing on life cycle cost analysis, which is of course part of the equation. First, there's the issue with life cycle analysis because it's already difficult to harmonize the method or the methodology. But of course, the life cycle cost analysis is really important when you have to sensitize the consumer that a durable product will improve his total cost of ownership. And we have to show this, and we have lots of efforts to do. And this is why I say we have to work along with different actors to explain and say, look how much this will cost you. And it's really difficult for a person. This is why we've been working on the idea of tire as a service, which is a way to remove the initial investment, which is really a barrier, and make it more attractive on a TCO perspective. Yes, please.
You first.
Yeah.
No, I was about to change subject, that's why.
Okay, I just want to say life cycle costing. We worked a bit with like business to business, it can work. to some extent. Business to consumer is very hard. I mean, there's not just asymmetric information. There are like 20 barriers for consumers to take in this information. So it's very hard. So often we think it's better actually that the regulator use the energy label and take away the worst products sometimes.
There is one issue, because it's easy to say that if you just buy this product that lasts longer, you save money in the end. That's easy to communicate. But how would you do when at this stage we have so many products, they are so cheap, there is no way anyone would repair them for a cost less than the cost of buying a new one. If you buy a toaster for 20 euros, who could it cost more than 20 euros to get someone to look at it? You know. So then it's totally, and that is the hard question for politicians to do, because then they have to. The solution here is, maybe a toaster should cost 100 euros, and how do you come up with this sort of political solution that makes stuff 5 times as expensive?
Well,
that's really hard.
That's the right solution.
Letitia.
For this, we used to speak like the total cost and including environmental cost. But what is interesting with this topic of durability is that it joined the interest of consumer and environmental interest also. And we fight to get a legal label about durability, to be able to compare when you buy some products, you see this one is cheap, this one is more expensive, you see the brand, but sometimes the reputation is not enough to know if it will last. So we need a label to know, comparing this one and this one, what is the durability, what do we expect. And like this we can do an investment with being aware of what we buy. And that's why we have studies who show that people are ready to pay a bit more for products that will last longer, because they know that they do a good investment. And we work in France of labeling and criteria. How do we do this label? On which criteria? On repairability, and tomorrow on durability also. And then I think it will be a very big change maker, because then you can go to the shop or on the internet to buy a computer. You can really see what is the difference in terms of durability, long-lasting, this product, and this can make a difference, because it's not only just I pay this price. It's also very annoying to have to change, to have to repair, to go back to the shop, or to play with warranty. You don't want to waste your time. Sometimes you are ready to pay a bit more for a good product, but you want warranty that it will last. And for this, we need some legal label, some more information to the consumer, and we can get it.
Okay, great. I will prepare you all that I will allow you to say a couple of last thoughts of what do you want the audience to remember. But before that, I'm going to give Loic the chance to respond about fossil fuel.
Yeah, I don't want to have the feeling that I'm escaping this question. Thank you very much for your question. These are, of course, main issues we're now facing. It is the main environmental issue we have. To understand it correctly, what is microplastic? What we call microplastic, we call it tire road wear particles. And in fact, these tire wear particles are just the result of the friction of the tire and the road surface. And there is abrasion, which makes the tire in the tread is wearing, but the abrasion is what permits the grip performance and allows security on the road. Just to understand that big picture, which of course leads to material loss. So these microplastic tire road wear particles are a mix of tire and a mix of the road. Since our beginning, Michelin has always been factoring in the environmental impact, and this is what still we're doing. We have been engaging with lots of different studies within the industry and also engaging with independent studies, and none of them, for the moment, have demonstrated a severe risk for health or for biodiversity. Although they are still concerned, there are still doubts on it, we are still working on it. We are working with the industry to continue to engage into new studies that will be more precise, that will get more data, and also following the evolution. So this is really important for us. What you say, we have also been in a study, you were talking about the ocean and the rivers. As we can know,
I think we can leave it as it's a work in progress.
It's a work, but it's. I mean, we are really factoring in this, and I will be happy to engage a conversation with you afterwards because, we're really working on it at a European level. We're trying to get also standardized method on abrasion to avoid this. Thank you very much.
So, Carl, I will give you the first concluding remarks. What do you want the audience to remember about planned obsolescence when they come home tonight?
No, I think more and more as research, we come to the conclusion there is nothing cheap in the circular economy. And although the old Marxists sucked about any solution, they were a little bit right about the problem. You don't buy anything cheap without exploiting people or the planet, or that's just the fact. So we need to, with different measures, get quality stuff. That's what we need.
Daniel?
Well, to get something to change, you got to have awareness. And how do you get awareness? You can work within your company to achieve awareness. But if you're in a company and you're trying to push the CEO to change, sometimes it works, but most of the time it doesn't work as well as you would hope if you're like really looking into sustainability. So I would like to see more whistleblowers. You know, it's not enough to just say to your boss that we should do this more sustainable. I think, you know, if you're a good technician, you know how it works. Raise the alarm, because we don't have that much time, you know. And if there is a big thing in the media, a big investigation, there is always more push. And then the big investigation, they create organizations like HOP, and they reach the politicians, and then you can see change. So that's we should like take down this culture that we have in Sweden, at least to everyone to agree. Just like raise some noise. Yeah.
Letitia?
For me, planned obsolescence and about the question of definition is, for me, it doesn't matter so much because at least at the end it's a visible part of an iceberg. And yes, we can talk about planned obsolescence, but what is behind? Behind is a question of durability, repairability, design, consumption. It's a very huge topic, and it's a circular economy. It's a new model we need to make. And I think in this, I believe in coalition of actors. I believe that we will change it when companies will change, public actors will change, and consumer will change. All together, we can do big change. And we need all together. And that's why in France it works, because all together we work on it. And in HOP, we try to work with all of them, with companies, with the Club of Durability, with public actors and everyone. And I think all of us, we can play a key role in this. As a consumer, we can repair, we can buy differently. As if I work in a public office, I can play on regulation, norms, and different things. And as a company, I can do something in my office. I can see my CEO. I can impulse new design or new marketing campaign. So the question is, what can I do personally, as a person, as a consumer, as a worker, to fight against planned obsolescence and build this new world? And what can you do to play this role with us, with all the people who are volunteers? Because I think we have a big power in our hands to change the things all together.
Loic, last words.
Well, I completely agree on this stance, saying we are quite grateful. Or some NGOs as HOPs or civil society as companies that have challenged us, that have helped us to improve, and we are changing slowly. And this is why I want to call you to help us on this journey to sustainable mobility. And the second thing I would like to say is that it is important when we are on this journey for sustainability that we forget that we have to work all together in the alignment of incentive, economic incentive, consumer incentive, and environmental incentive. We will only work to transition to circular economy if we have the alignment of all these incentives.
Great. Thank you from both Loic and Laetitia, who come from France, Daniel from Stockholm, and Carl from Lund. And thank you to the whole audience that came and listened to us here. Thank you.